Are you looking for some quick and easy fall wreath ideas? Today I'm going to be making 3 different wreaths that are going to be super cute, super fun, and most importantly, easy to make. Hello my sweet friends and welcome to DIY with Nadia. My co-host today is my sweet kitten Rocky, and we are ready to craft some beautiful wreaths. Here are the supplies for the candy corn wreath, starting with a foam wreath base that's 10 inches in diameter. The ribbon that I'm going to be using is, of course, white, yellow, and orange. But this ribbon is actually going to be for the base. And our decorative one is going to be this one. You can find it on Amazon. I'll link it. It also comes with an orange version. But if you're going to use the orange one, I would use maybe a black ribbon for the base of the wreath, or a black fabric or a piece of felt that you can just cut into strips and wrap it around the wreath base. For decor, I'm going to be using these adorable candy corn picks from the DollarTree to attach our beautiful floral picks. And the bow, I'm going to be using zip ties, but you can use anything you want, like a floral wire or a pipe cleaner. Let's take off the sticker. I heated my hot glue gun, and as you can see, it's on this side away from the fur baby over here. And all I'm going to do is wrap this orange ribbon all around. Just a little bit of hot glue to keep it in place as I'm wrapping. And then throughout, I'm going to make sure that I dab here and there just a little bit. The ribbon that I'm using is grosgrain, and grosgrain is a very thick, it's a solid type of ribbon, so I'm not going to have any problems with the green showing through at all. Let's give it a dab of hot glue. And around we go. Finishing up attaching my ribbon. Put a little bit of hot glue. Cut off the excess so that you have a beautiful front of your wreath. Make sure that you have endings on one side. Here I have a transition piece where one roll ended and I started another one. So I wanted to make sure that I finish on the same side. I'm going to be using a bow maker. I always have these attached in the description box below. What I'm going to do is a very simple, clean bow. I always like to make sure the tails are long enough, or keep them a little longer, because I can always cut them off. Every bow maker has a ruler that goes to the left and the right. This particular one goes up to 6. I hope you can see the numbers right here. Since I'm starting with a ribbon that is a single side ribbon, meaning it does have a back side, you need to twist in the center so that when you go around and make that loop, your loop is right side up. Go to about 4.5 inches with my loop. The reason I'm only making one loop is I want that background, that contrast, to lay on my wreath base. And now I'm going to go in with my white one to brighten things up, then the yellow one, and then we're going to finish off with this one once again. When it comes to the white ribbon, it's double-sided, so I'm just going to zigzag. Going to make my tail 6 inches, and then I'm just going to loop and do another loop. I don't want this to be too big. I just want that pop of white here and there. Same thing with this yellow ribbon. I have a tail, it's double-sided, so I'm just going to one side, make another loop. Now I'm coming back in with my gorgeous, gorgeous ribbon, measuring 6 inches, and I decided to make sure that it stands out beautifully. Make 3 loops with this ribbon. I'm going to twist in the center as I'm going through, and these I'm making at about 4 inches, so a little smaller. And do another twist. There's that 3rd loop, and cut it off. I'm one of these people that really believes in popping in some of that solid color, because I feel like it brings the bow together and lets the gorgeous ribbon that you're using stand out. Using a black zip tie, I'm going to put it underneath the bow, and I'm going to go from one side to the other. Before I take it off my dowels, I'm going to listen for a few clicks. There we go. Now I can take it off. If you feel like you're in the center, then tighten that zip tie up. If you're not sure, you can just fold in half, put that zip tie right in the center, and then tighten it. Cut off the excess. Now I'm going to go around and cut off my little tails, making sure that I have a dovetail. So just fold that ribbon in half and cut out a little triangle. If I feel like some of my ribbon is too long, I can cut it off a little bit more later. Next, I'm going to take 2 longer pieces of zip ties. Grabbing my picks, I'm going to start bending them to make sure they're laying beautifully on my wreath base. Something like that I think will look good. I'm going to go in between the branches to make sure I have a nice seal and make sure that that nub is in a place that's not going to show. My picks are secured in place. Now the bow is going to get attached right there. I'm going to go to the center, grab that zip tie of mine and wrap it around. Zip tie the bow in place. And as simple as that, now it's time to really open up all of those beautiful loops on the bow. I think that looks fantabulous. In between both of these, throw in a jute cord. All right, measure off, make a few knots. That looks great. And now I have a hanging loop that's going to be hidden behind this bow. I'm just opening up those loops. And just like that, super easy and quick, we have a beautiful candy corn wreath. Let's go over the supplies that I have for this wreath, starting with the ribbon. Both of my ribbon are wire. They're 1.5 inch in width, and look how perfectly they match the sign that I found on Temu. The polka dot ribbon is from Costco. This one is from Craft Outlet. By the way, all the supplies that I use are always in the description box below. Going to need floral wire, zip ties, going to be using some branches of leaves. You can use whatever you have on hand to match your sign, and of course our base is going to be this beautiful grapevine pumpkin wreath. The goal of this wreath is to make sure that we keep the pumpkin shape. So I'm going to start by attaching our sign at the bottom center of our wreath base. Grab as much floral wire as you're going to need. Since I'm using the DollarTree floral wire, it's black, it matches my sign the best. I'm going to double it when I cut it, so grab a long piece, make a second one for the other side. I'm pulling the floral wire through, making sure I twist it in the back. I'm going to be attaching the sign to these 2 inner rows. You do want to make sure that your sign is both even to these 2 pieces and of course the center. The sign is finally beautifully centered like I wanted. Now it's time to work on our bow. The bow that we're going to make today is kind of a layered bow. The tail quite long, almost 11 inches in length. And then I'm going to make 4 loops. Since this ribbon is one-sided, twist in the center, make my 5-inch loop, twist, make another 5-inch loop, twist, 3rd loop, twist, and my 4th loop. Measuring my tail to make sure that it's the same length. I'm going to have my loops strategically laid out like this so that when I come in with my pretty ribbon that matches my sign beautifully, the length, I'm going to keep the same. If I want to, I will cut it shorter. And of course, this ribbon is also one-sided, so we're going to do twists. And I'm going to make only 2 loops with this one. You can make it a little smaller. I'm going to go down to 4.5 inches. Of course, twist in the center, make the other loop, and cut it off. Grab a zip tie, put it through from one side bottom to the other side top, zip tie it together. Let's hear a few clicks. Take it off, tighten it up. Cut that off. Let's bring in our wreath base. Look how beautiful that looks. What an easy and fun wreath to do. Grab one of these and then one of the red ones I have. Put them on one side, grab another one for this side. First thing I always do is mold it to the shape of our wreath. If you want it to stick out, you can, but I really want to make sure that this looks like a pumpkin pumpkin wreath, I'm going to grab a long zip tie. Hide the little nub from the zip tie and cut it off. Now let's attach our bow. I want to wiggle my zip tie through the grapevine wreath, and what I like to do is grab a letter opener or anything that's kind of on the sharper side but will also not damage your wreath. And I'm feeding the zip tie right underneath. There we go. Wasn't that easy? Take this off very gently. I have not damaged anything on my wreath base. Bring in that gorgeous bow. Zip tie it in place. Time to open up my bow. I'm not done with it, believe it or not. This one is so clingy today. Look at this little guy. All right, my friends, I'm going to cut my tails for this little bow. I decided that I'm going to cut on an angle, grabbing both of them. Let's measure and do the same thing to this side. I want to make this one a little shorter. So let's cut about 1/2 inch, not by much, because I want the polka dots to show through a little bit better. For a little final touch, I'm going to put a little pumpkin right in the center of the bow, and I just have a little orange pumpkin. It matches really nicely to the sign. And what I like to do when I use these is, instead of just hot gluing flat where this little guy is going to be just sticking up, I do like to put it on a little angle. But when you do that, you want to have a little flat space here. You can use a knife or a letter opener. I feel like it's always safer with a letter opener because it's not sharp. And this part is going to get hot glue straight to the sign, so no one's going to see the white part. Let's put some hot glue right on. Look how beautiful this super easy pumpkin wreath turned out. Here are the supplies that I'm going to use for this wreath, starting with the ribbon. I am going to use 4 rolls of ribbon. All the ribbon is wire. 2 of them are 2.5 inches. This burlap one is going to be my base, so it's going to be that first ribbon in the background. And then I have this beautiful striped white and black one, and the black is a little bit faded, not so bright. It's really, really pretty. The 1.5 inch ribbon, I have a beautiful green one and a dark yellow. You're going to need some zip ties or some pipe cleaners. For decor, I'm going to be using 2 packs of acorns because each pack is only 10 pieces, but I'm going to need 12 altogether. The sign that I'm using is quite large. It's 12 inches in diameter. It has 2 holes that are already in place at the top, so I'm going to make 2 more at the bottom so I can secure this sign nicely to the wreath base. The wreath base itself is a metal 14-inch wreath form. Before I start attaching everything, I'm going to explain what I'm going to do. Just think of it as a poof wreath. I'm going to start on the inside on row 2 and finish off on row 3. On row 2, we're going to connect right in the center of each section, going all the way around, then move slightly over to the intersection, and that's where we're going to start making our poofs, going all the way around until we get to the spot where we started. I'll just put my zip tie right there in the center. For layering, start with that burlap because that's going to be kind of that base that we have. Move on to the yellow. That's going to go right over the 1.5 inch striped one, and then the green one. Gather about 1.5 inches in and zip tie it in place. That zip tie knob, I want to be either to the side or the back of the wreath, but not at the top because that's where we're going to add our decor. Make sure I'm in the center of my section, nice and tight, and clip off the tail. I decided to add 1 more zip tie at the end of the tail, just so we have that beginning of our wreath a little bit more set in place. Cut that off. Now we can get started on our poofs, and we're going to keep them at about 8 inches in length. Let's gather, attach our next one, cut it off. Next 8 inches. together. You can definitely do this by eye. You don't have to measure, but I do like measuring to make sure that all of my poofs are going to be nice and even. I went all the way around on that inner row, measuring another 8 inches. And now we're going to finish this row up right where we started. Grabbing another zip tie, I'm going to go right next to the zip tie that I already have in place and attach that poof. Cut that off. All I'm doing here is going to the intersection, the outside row. Let's put my zip tie in and I'm going to attach no poofs. All my ribbon is nice and flat. Zip tie that in, cut off the tail. And now we're going to make those outside poofs. I'm going to go up to 9 inches just because that outside row you want a little bit more coverage. So 9 inches right here. And zip tie in place. Another 9 inches and zip tie on the next intersection. It's that simple, just keeping it nice and clean. I'm on my last poof. Let's cut off about 2 inches of tails. First, let's get our zip tie in place. There we go. And I'm going to make sure that my tail is going to go in between both of the layers right inside. Zip tie nice and tight and cut the tail off. To make sure that my tail is nicely secured, I'm going to go back with another zip tie and zip tie the tail in place. Grab our sign, remove this little bow because I think it looks kind of silly. This sign needs to lay beautifully nice and flat. Let's take off the hanging loop. Use the same jute cord and I'm going to keep it short because this is not going to be too long. That's going to be more than enough. Make a few knots and that way we take care of the hanging loop right away. Pull it through the front. And there is our hanging loop, bringing some strong floral wire. And this you don't need to make too long, maybe 6 inches at the most in length. And I'm going to tie it to all 4 holes. By the way, I made 2 holes at the bottom with an awl. You can use whatever you have on hand. If you have a crocodile, that's even better. Twist that in place. Now that I have my floral wires attached, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, I'm going to go right in the center where I have my intersections. I'm gonna connect in between rows 2 and 3. Make sure that this is nicely centered. Just twisting the floral wire in place to attach and start opening up our ribbon. The way I wanted to do it was to have a little greenery, then I'm going to have the stripe, and then I'm going to have the yellow one at the bottom. If I wanted to, I can also show that burlap, so open it up and make it look beautiful. The outside row, this wreath is opened up and it's so pretty, but I am going to take some greenery. I always take greenery from flowers that I use in wreaths. The reason I do this is for projects like this. Sometimes you're going to have areas that are open and you want to conceal that. Taking my green leaves, putting some hot glue on there, and I'm going to place them right on top of each zip tie. The little leaves do 2 things. Number 1, they cover up our zip tie, of course, and number 2, they cover up the wreath base. Anything that's showing up like this, it's going to take care of that. The leaves that I'm using have a little plastic part. Removing that, a little bit of hot glue, and attach it to my next zip tie. All the leaves are on, and now we have one last thing, and that's to attach the acorns. Right in there. Just going to attach these all the way around. That is it for this stunning wreath, my friends. It was so easy, but look how beautiful this ribbon wreath came out. If you found these wreath tutorials beneficial to you, fun to watch, don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, give us a thumbs up so we keep on growing and coming back with more wreath tutorials. As for Rocky and myself, we're going to say thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you in our next video. Say bye! Mwah!